Guys, it's that time of the week again. Let's jump into this one. Welcome back to another video on the channel, guys, and welcome to our Championship score predictions video. Now, in midweek we had a few Championship clubs who were in action in the EFL Cup, but we are now back with all the Championship action, and as always I want to get your guys' thoughts on these games in the comments down below. I think it's fair to say that we have a few managers who are feeling the pressure at the moment, and some really quite decisive games both at the top and bottom of the Championship this weekend. As always, do leave your score predictions down below and get yourself entered onto the prediction leaderboard. But without any further ado, let's jump into these. So starting out with tonight's fixture, we've got QPR going up against Nottingham Forest, and this is going to be quite the interesting game, to be honest with you. Obviously QPR were one of the Championship sides who were in action in midweek in the EFL Cup, ultimately losing out to Sunderland on a penalty shootout. There was quite a bit of drama towards the end of that match, and particularly with that goal that QPR had ruled out. But this is going to be a tricky game because Forest have been really quite good on the road so far this season. I think they've currently got the third best away record in the Championship. They've won their last 3 matches now that they've played on the road. Obviously the major blip that Forest have had under Steve Cooper so far came in their last fixture against Fulham, where pretty much every defensive mistake that they made in that game was punished by an absolutely clinical Fulham attack. But going up against this QPR side, they are the sort of team that will leave those gaps in behind, and I can't help but think someone like a Zinkernagel or a Brennan Johnson really could have quite a bit of joy in this one. So I can't help but feel like maybe there could be something in this one for Forest. It was a pretty strong lineup that QPR went with in midweek in that game, and they have shown themselves to be a little bit inconsistent recently. You know, they had that loss last time out against Peterborough in the league as well. So for a score prediction, I could very much see this game going either way, but I've got a bit of a gut feeling that maybe Forest may pull something out of the bag in this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Forest in this game, with FIFA going 1-0 QPR. Next up then we have Fulham going up against West Brom. It's second versus third in a really intriguing encounter. Two of the most informed forwards in the league going up against each other in this one, in Mitrovic and Karlan Grant. It was a good win for Fulham last time out against Forest, and the same for West Brom against Bristol City. I do think that West Brom's play style will be an interesting clash with Fulham's in this one. I think that they've been alright so far this season at playing those sort of progressive teams who like to keep the ball on the floor. You know, it does allow their midfield to sort of get a bit more stuck in, press them on the ball, and maybe that back line that likes to play so high up isn't as exposed to those teams that look to drop a few balls in behind them. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting clash of styles. I think that if I was swaying either way, it would probably be towards Fulham in this game, but with that clash of styles, I think there could be something in this one for West Brom. Obviously, Alex Mowatt's a major miss from that midfield at the moment, but to be fair to him, I thought that Snodgrass did a decent job in that role last time out, and I think that Livermore will be back in contention for this game as well. So for a score prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, I think, with Mitrovic and Karlan Grant both getting on the score sheet. FIFA's going 1-0 Fulham. And coming up next, what a cracker of a game this one's going to be. We've got Bristol City going up against Barnsley. Bristol City yet to win at home so far this season, going up against Barnsley, who are yet to win on the road so far this season. So surely something has to give in this game. A draw in the current situation of both clubs suits absolutely nobody. You know, both are in need of 3 points at the moment. I think that in terms of Bristol City, Nigel Pearson's starting to feel the heat there a little bit. It was a fairly reasonable start to the season, but results have certainly slid off recently, and if they don't win this match, I think there's a very high possibility that Bristol City end up going a full calendar year without winning a game at home, which is absolutely mental. You know, they've never been presented with a better opportunity to go ahead and do so in today's match. And the same could probably be said for Barnsley, to be honest with you. They had that flurry towards the end of the Sheffield United game, but ultimately it was too little too late, and they fell to another defeat in that one. For a score prediction in this one, a draw probably is the safe bet and wouldn't surprise me whatsoever, but surely if Bristol City are ever going to get a home win, it's going to come in this game. So I'm going to go not confidently and back a 1-0 Bristol City home win. FIFA's going 2-0 Barnsley. surely something's got to give in this one. Next then we head to Derby up against Blackburn. Derby actually have the opportunity to go off the bottom of the Championship this weekend should they win in this game and Barnsley end up losing, which would be, you know, quite a story this early on into the season given their minus 12 point deduction. They've had a really good record at home so far this season, to be fair to them, yet to lose in any of their home fixtures. However, of those 7 matches, 5 of them have gone on and ended as draws, and another draw in this one, I wouldn't be all too surprised about. Blackburn very much are this sort of counter-attacking side whose forward 3 cause all sorts of threats, especially with their pace going forward. You know, Brereton's been their main man this season, but it's been Gallagher and Dolan getting the goals for them lately. Obviously, Dolan with a brilliant performance at the weekend against Reading, and yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see this one ending as another draw. I'm expecting Derby here to dominate the possession. Blackburn are quite happy to be without the ball, especially away from home for sort of large spells, and then they'll look to just hit you on those counter-attacks when a little bit of space goes ahead and opens up. Derby really could do with turning some of those draws into wins now. That's the sort of next step to go on in their season, but I'm not quite sure if they're at that stage just yet. So for a score prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game, with FIFA going 1-0 Blackburn. Next then we head to Huddersfield, where we have Huddersfield going up against Millwall. Now Millwall are on quite the excellent run of form at the moment, I think it's fair to say. 4 wins from their last 5 matches. They had that start to the season when they were just a little bit middling sort of in all their games, really, you know, quite predictable in a Gary Rowett fashion where they were picking up a lot of draws, but really picked up their form recently. They're scoring a few more goals, getting into those attacking positions a little bit more. It was Tom Bradshaw with the brace last time out against Stoke to give them all 3 points in that one, and do you know what? I think they'll fancy their chances coming into this game against Huddersfield, who have been a bit sort of on and off recently. They had that win against Hull a couple of weeks ago, which was a decent 3 points, but other than that, they have failed to score now, Huddersfield, in 3 out of their last 4 Championship matches. Couple of goalless draws, and then they had that loss against Bournemouth last time out. Both teams have been fairly decent from set pieces so far this season, and so from those dead ball situations, wouldn't be at all surprised to see a couple of goals going for either team in this one. But yeah, just with that bit more of a spring in their step and the bit more onus that Millwall are showing in the final third at the moment, I think they could potentially do this one. I'm going to go 2-0 Millwall in that game, with FIFA going 1-0 Millwall. Next up then we go to Hull up against Coventry. With Hull at the moment, it sort of feels like Groundhog Day from the last time they were in the Championship. Seemingly they're making the same mistakes under Grant McCann, and something needs to change sooner rather than later. In fairness, there were maybe a few more positives to take from that second half performance against Luton. You know, it looked like they were committing a few more bodies going forward. They had a few chances, but ultimately, once again, they had nothing to show from that game as they ended up being on the losing side of it. They are going up against the Coventry side as well, who have had their fair share of struggles on the road so far this season. You know, it's just 1 away win for Coventry up until this point in the season, who have been an interesting side to watch lately, because I still think they're playing well, but they're playing well in sort of spells of matches, and we need to see sort of like a convincing 90-minute performance from them, you know. Especially in the last couple of games against Preston and Derby, I thought they came out the blocks flying in the first half, but just couldn't quite seem to keep up that momentum heading into the second half. If they are able to do that in this game, then I think they may get past Hull in this one. I'm going to go 2-0 Coventry for my prediction in this game, with FIFA going 1-0 Hull. Next day we head to the Riverside, where we have Middlesbrough going up against Birmingham. It's been a nice run of form for Middlesbrough lately. 3 consecutive wins, all of which keeping clean sheets in the process. We're seeing Peterborough now being embedded into that squad, what Borough fans were calling out for sort of at the start of the season, and certainly heading in the right direction, albeit their fixtures I think have been, you know, fairly kind to them recently. This could be a potential banana skin though, up against the Birmingham side, who did look much improved last time out against Swansea City. That partnership, maybe there's something to build on going forward between sort of Deeney and Hogan, and then sort of Chong looking to be the provider. You know, the real issue that Birmingham have had over the past month or so has been putting the ball away, but much better in front of goal in that game against Swansea, and I think there could potentially be something in this one for them. You know, with Birmingham having a bit more of an upwards turn in momentum, I'm going to back them to get a point from this game. I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Wouldn't surprise me if Middlesbrough do end up sneaking it, but I do feel like there could be something in this one for Birmingham. So yeah, I'm going to go 1-1, and FIFA's going to agree with me. Next up then we head to Deepdale, and it's Preston going up against Luton, and this game does feel That's sort of make or break for Frankie McAvoy, to be honest with you. It's only 1 win in 9 league matches for Preston now. We were in action in midweek against Liverpool in the Cup, ended up losing that one 2-0, albeit we did have some decent chances in the first half, but in typical North End fashion, couldn't put any of them away. The real positive to come out of that game, though, from Preston's point of view, was Ali McCann. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in midfield, and I think he has to be starting in this game, in what will be a really tough game, particularly in that midfield battle. Luton themselves are on a really good run of form at the moment. They've only lost 1 of their last 10 matches now. Last season, Luton were really good away from home, but they were quite savvy in how they did it. You know, they were fairly low scoring, and they had sort of a lot of 1-0s on the road and things like that. This time around, they are scoring considerably more goals. Elijah Adebayo, undoubtedly their 4-man going forward at this point in time. And I do have a bit of a bad feeling about this game. You know, Luton did the double over us last season, and I feel like they may fancy their chances in this one. Reluctantly, I'm going to say 2-1 Luton in this game. FIFA same, 2-0 Preston. Next up then to Bramall Lane, where we have Sheffield United going up against Blackpool. And do you know what? I don't think there'll be all too much in this game, to be honest with you. It was quite a dramatic win for Sheffield United last time out. They were cruising at 3-0 and it ended up being 3-2 in the end, but they did get the result against Barnsley, and they will have Morgan Gibbs-White coming back into the equation for this one after a suspension, which will be an obvious added benefit. I think he's probably been their best player so far this season, certainly in that creative role. But Blackpool have played the underdog role quite well so far this season. I think they've caught a lot of teams out, particularly at the top of the Championship, by just how good they've actually been in these sort of matches. You know, we go back to the sort of point they got against Bournemouth, a really good second half performance in that one. They got past Fulham in the end in that game as well. It was a brilliant comeback against Reading last time out on the road, and they'll be full of confidence coming off the back of that win against Preston. So yeah, man for man, Sheffield United no doubt have the firepower to go and win this one, but Blackpool seem like a very well coached side at the moment, particularly away from home. They seem to be quite well regimented. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see them pick up a point in this one. Sheffield United have had a few missteps in their home games so far this season, so I'm going to say maybe the same will happen again in this one. I'll go for a 1-1 draw, I think, in this game, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Blackpool. Next up then, we got Stoke going up against Cardiff. Stoke themselves not find themselves in the best run of form at the moment. It's 3 defeats on the bounce in the Championship, and they also had that loss in midweek in the Cup against Brentford. However, the form that Cardiff are on at the moment has been absolutely abysmal. 8 defeats in a row would be unimaginable if they got to 9 or 10 defeats in a row. But obviously, the major news that came out of Cardiff the other week was the departure of Mick McCarthy. I think ultimately he ended up lasting probably longer than a lot of us did expect. Steve Morrison is going to be in charge of this game while they go in search of that new permanent manager. So should Cardiff get that new caretaker boss bounce in this one, we'll have to wait and see. I do feel like this will be just a bit of a backs against the wall sort of performance, to be honest with you, from Cardiff, because we have to see something in this game, surely. It is a group who has vastly underachieved so far this season. Scoring goals has been a real issue, but probably more so than that has actually been their defensive record. They've currently got the 2nd worst defensive record in the league at the moment. Stoke, I think, have struggled to find the balance themselves between defence and attack, so Michael O'Neill, I'm expecting to do a little bit of tinkering with this Stoke squad over the next few weeks. And for a score prediction, I just feel like Steve Morrison will want a bit of a backs against the wall sort of performance, sort out that defensive record. So for a prediction in this one, I'm going to go for a goalless draw. I always throw one of them in there every week, and I feel like this one could be it this week. I'm going to go 0-0. FIFA's going 1-0 Cardiff. Next up then, we head to the Liberty, where we have Swansea going up against Peterborough. Peterborough definitely starting to head in the right direction. They have, you know, left a bit of breathing space now between themselves and the bottom 3 with back-to-back wins for the first time this season. It was a good win for them the other week in midweek, their first away from home of the season as they got past Hull, and they did follow it up with that result against QPR. Siriki Dembele with the last-minute winner, and I certainly wouldn't put it past them having a bit of late drama in this game either. But it will be tough for them. It's a Swansea side who's going to look to dominate the ball. It was a bit of a frustrating game last time out against Birmingham. In the second half, that game just seemed to get away from them a little bit, but on the whole, they've been pretty decent at home, especially recently. They've won their last 3 home matches. even this far into this season, they've only lost one game at home so far. Generally, with how Peterborough have struggled on the road, I think it will be Swansea that I am edging towards in this game. I'm going to go 2-1 Swansea in this one, I think, with FIFA going 1-1. And as our last game to go over, we have Saturday night's game going on between Reading and Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth have a real opportunity to go an even further their lead at the top of the Championship. At the moment, they've got a 6-point lead over West Brom, but with West Brom playing Fulham this weekend, at least one of those clubs is going to be dropping points this weekend. So Bournemouth have a massive opportunity to go ahead and capitalise on that once again. Obviously, still unbeaten this far into this season. They were really quite comfortable last time out, to be honest with you, up against Huddersfield, and even that game could have been a potential banana skin. But they're getting through matches at the moment away from home. It was one particular sticking issue at one point of the season when they picked up a few draws on the road, but they've more than rectified that recently, and they've looked quite comfortable actually in their last few outings on the road. Reading themselves are having a bit of a slide off in terms of their form. I think that a few of us did see this coming, even in some of those matches that they were sort of winning a few weeks ago. There were some signs there that maybe those sort of underlying numbers would catch up with them at one point in terms of how many chances they give way to the opposition and the sort of low frequency shots that they tended to be scoring from. No doubt that Reading still have that quality in the 11, but Bournemouth just seem to be at that level above everyone else at the moment, don't they? So, score prediction for this one, I'm going to go 2-0 Bournemouth, with FIFA going 1-0 Bournemouth. But guys, there we have it. Those are my predictions ahead of all the weekend's action. As always, make sure to get your thoughts and score predictions in the comments down below. Really tight in the prediction league at the moment, in all the leagues at the moment, so make sure to go ahead and get your score predictions in there. And if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Thanks for watching though, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.